Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to the Panther Insider Podcast driven by Ford. This is Dave Cohen, the radio voice of the Panthers. It's great to have you back again with us as we talk Georgia State athletics. And on this latest show, coming off a 3-game series sweep of the Georgia Southern Eagles at the ballpark at Panthersville, we welcome to the Panther radio microphones pitchers Ryan Watson and first baseman Luke Boynton to the Panther radio mics as we get a late season update on Georgia State baseball as the Panthers head into the final series at Old Dominion and then the 2023 Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Before we talk to Ryan and Luke and get to this week's podcast, thanks to all of our Panther fans who have subscribed, rated, and reviewed our first 116 shows. If you've missed any of our previous podcasts, they're all available on the Apple Archives page. You can access that online at GeorgiaStateSports.com. Again, we're talking college baseball on the latest Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. First up, fresh off a Friday night win over Georgia Southern, and that is Ryan Watson. Great to welcome you to the Panther Insider podcast. And boy, Georgia State hitting a stride. Congrats on the win on Friday night. You are now 6-1 on the season, and this ball club hitting a stride here late in the season as you get ready to head to Old Dominion and hopefully the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. But congrats to you.
Thank you. It's good to be on this, and what a great series we had. Looking to keep that going this weekend and then on to the conference tourney.
Well, you know, as they say, you're always as good as your most recent outing, especially being a pitcher. You're the Friday night guy, and, as you go back, and by the way, congratulations, Sun Belt Conference Pitcher of the Week honors coming off the win on Friday night. But in the game on Friday night, 7 strikeouts, 5 hits, no runs allowed. And you guys knew going into this 3-game series against Georgia Southern, this was a backs-against-the-wall weekend coming from San Marcos. What was the vibe, so to say, in the locker room down here at the stadium and out at Panthersville heading into the Georgia Southern series?
So we made sure to put key on intensity this week, and we knew it was pretty much win or go home. So we had to win 3, put ourselves in a position now that we could get a bye if we win 3 more. So it's all about, like you said, our last series. See if we can keep this moving on the next weekend.
Well, it's good that this ball club's hitting a stride both offensively and from a pitching standpoint. The guys that pitched on Saturday and Sunday got it done. Certainly the bats got it done. It's got to be nice to know that, and again, as you look through that lineup, 1 through 8, who's ever carrying a stick, I mean, anybody from 1 to 9 can put the ball out of the ballpark, giving you, like you had the other night, that kind of support.
Yeah, it's great having run support early, and I think that makes all of the pitching more comfortable, which it's easy to say, but if we can get 3 to 4 runs in those first 3 or 4 innings, then we're usually pretty good.
So take me inside your head in a situation like you were on Friday night where you're getting that kind of run support, and in a ball game where maybe you're not getting quite to that level of run support. How does that change what your approach is each inning that you come out?
It doesn't change too much besides the fact, I guess the one key is getting ahead early, because the other team's not really looking to swing away early, but it doesn't change too much. I try to keep the same intensity both situations, just do my job and let the guys behind me field their position.
And defensively, for the most part, save for a game here or there, defensively we've been solid.
Yeah, we've been doing our jobs lately, and it's shown. So when we don't make too many errors and mental mistakes, then it shows on the win column.
And as you go around that infield, and I'm just mentioning the starters, but Mize over at third and Ruiz at short and Dylan or whoever's at second and Luke, who we're going to talk to in a little while on the second half of this podcast over at first, you got guys that have been solid defensively all year.
Oh, yeah. It's good having veterans all around the infield, and it's shown, like you said. So we just need Mize and Ruiz to keep it up, and we should be good.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your journey since you got here to Georgia State. You're out of Sugar Hill, which, by the way, I think I know where Sugar Hill is, but tell Panther fans where Sugar Hill is. I think it's up 85, right?
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes up north.
How did you decide to come downtown and play play at Georgia State for Brad Stromdahl?
So really, I didn't have that many offers coming out of high school. I would say I had 3 or 4 Peach Belt offers, and then Georgia State made that last offer, and I knew that was the right decision.
I can't see it on your shoulder. Did you come to Georgia State with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder in that you didn't get the offers that maybe you thought you should have had? And, of course, your career at Georgia State, the numbers certainly prove out that you certainly belong at the Division I level. But did you have a little bit of that chip, coming out of high school, coming here?
Yeah, I knew that I was good enough to play at this level, and not too many coaches saw that in me right away, I guess just because of my size, but I knew if I got the chance, then I would take advantage of it.
Well, in 2020, and I'm running through 2020, 21, 22, 23, you're a Saturday starter. You go 2-1. What's that like adjustment-wise that first year pitching for Georgia State right out of high school?
It's a lot of adjustment. The hitters are a lot better, and it showed because I didn't have the best years early on, but I was able to produce a little bit, and I think that experience growing as a pitcher and a teammate, it's helped a lot, and as it's shown this year.
Certainly you come out and all of a sudden you're going from, pitching in high school to facing Sun Belt Conference bats. Yeah. I mean, that's a big jump.
Oh, yeah. I think Sun Belt Conference, at least right now, is easily a top 5 conference in Division I, and I think that showed with the RPI, with the amount of teams, and it's a tough one.
So that was in 2020. 2021, rotation spot to reliever role. How'd you approach that, and what were your thoughts on being asked to make that adjustment?
It didn't really matter to me as long as I was getting the innings in, and I told Coach right away, I said, wherever you guys want me, whether that's starting or relieving, whatever you think's best for the team, I'll do. So at that point, it was just we're looking to win games. It's not for my personal benefit.
Now, you're currently tied with 19 wins. The win on Friday night was number 19 in your Georgia State career. That's put you in a tie for third all-time. You've also got 12 saves. In 2022, you finished with 9 saves, which ranked you second in the Sun Belt Conference. So all of a sudden, again, that approach, as opposed to being a starter now, you're having to sit or be out in the bullpen and kind of get yourself ready mentally and physically for that phone call.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the closer role just because I was involved in almost every game, it seemed like. But, I mean, obviously I think everybody looks to be the Friday night starter, and it's been great so far, both roles.
Yeah, but what's it like coming out of the bullpen like that? I mean, again, the approach is totally different.
Yeah, so as a pitcher, and when I'm coming in for 1 or 2 innings, it's pretty much give everything you got right away because there's no room for error at that point because the game's on the line. So, and then as a starter, once again, it's pound the zone early, get early contact, see if you can get into that 6th and 7th inning.
So again, here in 2023, right now you're 6-1 in 13 starts, the Friday night starter. And, you can look back at it now as we just went through it and kind of see how you've developed and grown as a pitcher since you arrived at Georgia State. It's kind of cool to look back at it and see the road well traveled.
Yeah, it is. And I think pretty much everybody that's been a part of it, I've had, I think, 3 or 4 different pitching coaches, which have all been great. And Frady and Strom have also been great to me. So I just think everybody a part of the program that's helped me get to where I am right now.
Yeah, you kind of jumped ahead on me. So you're currently working with a former major league pitcher. I mean, this is a guy who's at various levels walked the walk and talked the talk. What a great way to learn and kind of be a sponge to take in what valuable knowledge he can throw your way. And we're talking about, Coach Bell, but Brad as well.
Yeah, so both of them have been great, and Bell's been a great addition to the team, as well as Cam Fritz on the pitching side. They both know exactly what they're talking about. They both come from different approaches. Fritz is more mechanical, and Bell, like you said, just knows every aspect of the game and how to handle certain situations. So, I mean, everybody's been great.
So, I'm up in the booth during a game, and when I see Brad make what I call the slow walk out of the dugout out to the mound, or Coach Bell the slow walk out of the dugout to the mound, there's no microphone out there. I have no idea what you guys are specifically talking about, but I've got a pretty good idea. But take me into one of those quick mound visits. Whether it's a positive situation or a situation where really it's things aren't going our way. What is typically talked about in those brief visits to the mound by those two?
So normally it's just like a little mind reset, and the coaches probably notice that the pitcher can't do it themselves, so they want to kind of get a little regroup as the infield comes in. And, I mean, it's normally positive reinforcement, but I always tend to have Bell come out for like a breather pretty much, but some guys, it all varies for different guys.
And you work a lot with Colin Hynek, who's obviously starting catcher. Same thing when he comes out as well, just an opportunity to get a second breath and kind of reset?
Yeah, I mean, he's like everyone said, he's been great back there, and the positive reinforcement coming from them, like a player, has been good as well.
You and I were talking before we took to the air with regards to, how technology has entered into baseball. And we saw it a couple of times this past weekend. They're working with a pitch clock a few times. It went from ball. I remember a 2-1 situation, not with you, but then all of a sudden it was 3-1. The umpire turns towards the press box and he's pointing to his watch. How do things like that and the other technological things that have found their way into baseball helped you with preparation and your approach from game to game and opponent to opponent?
So, first we'll do pitch clock. I actually like the pitch clock because I'm able to use it for my advantage. I know hitters sometimes get uncomfortable in the box, and I tend to work fast, so the pitch clock normally doesn't affect me. But sometimes I'll give them an extra hold, and the hitters are standing in the box for 17 seconds, which they can't call time because then it's a ball. So I like to use that to my advantage and then make them feel uncomfortable.
As the one who's either up in the booth on the radio or on ESPN Plus, I think I'm more on your side because I can see that you're trying to get in a rhythm with regards to the amount of time in between pitches. This keeps the batter from constantly stepping out and adjusting his gloves and picking up some dirt. To me, it's an advantage for you.
Yeah, no, it's been great for me so far. I've had no issues. We'll see how it is at the end of the year, but it's been great.
Again, Ryan Watson with us here on the opening segment of our Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Georgia State headed, hopefully, to the Sun Belt Conference tournament following the series against the Monarchs of Old Dominion. And again, this weekend, is this a similar situation? And I say backs against the wall, knowing that you got to go on the road now against a pretty good ball club and pick up at least one, hopefully more than that, wins.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that this is still win or go home in our minds, and if we get those 1 or 2 wins, then feel a little more comfortable. But winning all 3 would be ideal, so we can put ourselves in a great position with the seeding.
You like pitching on the road better in some of these ballparks you get to go to? Because if you look at Georgia State's schedule, and I was going to ask you about this as well, and I know you didn't face all of them, but from a schedule standpoint, Georgia State Brad has never shied away from playing anybody. You've been around here long enough to know that. This year it's been Cincinnati early on, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, even Wofford the other night. Pretty good ball club. With regards to, being in a position and playing against those kind of opponents, has that kind of, proven to give you guys dividends at this time of the season, playing that quality competition early on and the pressure of playing in some of those games in those ballparks?
Yeah, I think that's helped, and if we were to go on to a regional, then that would prove to us that we've been there, we can do it.
All right, well, let me ask you, again, Sun Belt Conference Pitcher of the Week, great honor, says a lot about what you guys were able to do this weekend, but those honors don't really hit home till the season's over, right? Because there's still a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for that pitcher of the week, but it doesn't really matter in the end because it's a team sport and we're looking to win the conference tournament.
Like some of the other sports here, football, basketball, do the pitchers kind of hang together and, over the course of a weekend, do the pitchers hang together? Do they, what goes into we'll call the pitcher's room as you guys are in the midst of a 3-game weekend series?
Yeah, so the pitchers tend to hang together for the most part, but we've tried to kind of mix just so we're as one whole team. But yeah, there's different groups along the team.
Not like the kickers. I always call them the special teams and the kickers on a football team. Those guys are in their own world most of the time. Pitchers, because, after, let's say, when you start on a typical Friday night, you're off Saturday and Sunday, but you're still there. Yeah. But you're able to provide some really good insight because you're the first one to face these guys.
Yeah, and we're all in the same dugout, so it's not as much like the like being on a sideline at a football game. But yeah, I try to stand, I guess, near their coaches so I can help with anything they ask or need of the rest of the weekend.
All right, well, as you know, better than most, baseball is average number of games is 56, so it's a long season. And between that and your academics, and you're pretty good academically, along the way you've been on the Sun Belt Conference Commissioners list, you've been on the Sun Belt Conference Honor Roll, the Dean's list, you've even been on Charlie's Athletic Director's Honor Roll, so you're putting as much time into the academic side of things as you are to a demanding athletic schedule. Tell me a little bit about what you're studying academically, where you're at academically, and what you're looking to do.
Yeah, so I graduated last year with a business managerial science degree, and then I'm looking to do a master's in economics.
Here at Georgia State?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, best of luck to that. Congratulations on graduating. I know the COVID interruption, gave everybody a lot of extra time, which on the back end has been really good. So, again, 56 games. Let's fast forward. Hopefully Georgia State has won the Sun Belt Conference tournament. What does Ryan Watson like to do to kind of not think about baseball and obsess about baseball day after day after day?
Sometimes we'll go to the lake or play some golf. I like to play some golf with some teammates and get my mind off pitching, but it's always good getting a round of golfing.
Let me ask you last question. Do you swing the clubs as well as you throw the baseball?
Not quite. I wish.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate it. Congrats on what has been a fantastic season for you. Again, 6-1, 19 career wins, 12 saves, tied for third. Have a good weekend at Old Dominion, and let's make some noise when we get to Montgomery in the Sun Belt Conference tournament.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, I want to thank Georgia State Baseball's Friday night starter, Ryan Watson, joining us here in the opening segment of our Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Coming up, we're going to talk to one of the infielders, and we were talking about, having the confidence in those guys behind you, and we're going to talk to the first baseman, Luke Boynton, coming up after this timeout, following these words from Ford and Center Park Credit Union.
Even before the victory celebration is over, great teams are back at it the next day, working to get even better. The team at Ford understands how hard work and dedication pay off. Over the last 30 years, Ford Explorer has been America's best-selling SUV. In fact, all Ford SUVs, like Explorer, Escape, and Edge, are built for victory. Score a great offer today at your local Ford dealer. Based on total cumulative OEM reported U.S. sales for all SUVs from calendar year 1990 through calendar year 2019.
Center Park Credit Union, the official financial sponsor of GSU football, is proud to be a part of the Georgia State community and the Panther Athletics program. Center Park provides members convenient financial services. In addition to online banking, mobile banking, and 7 Metro Atlanta branches, Center Park members have access to 5,000 co-op shared branches and 75,000 surcharge-free ATMs nationwide. To find a location near you, visit online at centerpark.org/contact, and that's park with a C. Not a member? Join today at centerpark.org. At Center Park, we help our members flourish. We're back in the Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Again, want to thank Ryan Watson for joining us, and we're talking college baseball on this podcast as Georgia State gets ready to wrap up the season against the Monarchs of Old Dominion and then the Sun Belt Conference tournament over in Montgomery, and joined right now by the veteran first baseman Luke Boynton. Luke, thanks for joining us. Big weekend. Everybody left Panthersville on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon feeling really good with the first ever, I think, sweep of Georgia Southern. But at home, back-to-back sweep of Marshall and Georgia Southern. This team hopefully hitting a little bit of a stride here as you get ready to close out the season and get ready for tournament play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone is excited where we're at right now as a baseball team, and I don't think there's any doubt in our minds that we can get into the conference tournament and go ahead and win it, because we faced all of the best teams in the conference and we've hung in there right with them, and I'm excited where we're at. We're playing our best baseball right now.
Well, certainly hitting the ball really well. I mean, defensively and from a pitching standpoint, did a really good job with Georgia Southern. But from an offensive standpoint, 11 runs in game? You had a 3-run home run that's probably still rolling around in the dirt outside the fence beyond center field. I think that one went, 432 feet was what I saw on GeorgiaStateSports.com. You put 8 up on Saturday, and then everybody goes bonkers on Sunday, and you guys score 16 runs. From an offensive standpoint, you couldn't ask for any more. Well, I guess you could, but that's a lot of offense.
Yeah, I think just 1 through 9 right now, everybody's a tough out. Everybody's putting up quality at bats, and I think we're a very special offense, and we know that. It's just when we come to the park, we decide what we want to do. We're one of the best offenses in the country, and I think when we're rolling, we're going to be able to beat anyone.
I think we're up to the Panthers are up to 102 home runs on the season. You're right about that. Let's just use, for example, this past weekend, I think on Sunday. So Cam Jones leads off, Max Ryerson, Will Mize, Luke Boynton. Those are 4 extremely tough outs. Then Matt Ruiz, JoJo Jackson. It was either Dylan Strickland or Jesse Donahoe. Colin Hynek and Dalton Pearson. You go later on in the series, and Hynek and Pearson are hitting home runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Pearson and Hynek did great all weekend, and when they're hitting, our offense is just that much tougher. Obviously, our 1 through 5 have been strong all year, and then just adding those guys at the bottom of the lineup and then producing just makes us that much scarier. So.
Well, again, right now, hitting a little bit of a stride that hopefully continues. But, you look back, and I remember talking to Coach Stromdahl early in the season. This was a 30-win ball club last year, and if I remember correctly, he told me in a preseason interview that we did that the goal was to win 35. Close, not there quite yet, but, again, a very tough and challenging schedule is he's not one to shy away from anybody. You see some dividends being paid now for some of those games early on the season as you reflect back. Georgia, which you split with Georgia Tech, Cincinnati, Vanderbilt, so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any time that we get to go play those top dogs in the SEC, we get to face good arms, we get to experience good pitching. Our pitching gets to face good hitters, and I think that just helps us down the road, and it's going to help us through this weekend and then going into the conference tournament. I think it's been great being able to play those teams, and we've had some tough luck against some really good teams. I mean, you look at Clemson, they're ranked 7th in the country now, and we were hanging in there right with them at the beginning of the season. So we know when we're playing our best baseball, we can compete with anybody in the country.
Yeah, I go back to the Friday night Clemson game. I remember that. There's been some woulda, coulda, shouldas, but those things were frustrating at the time that hopefully you learn from them from a baseball standpoint at this point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning from it is all you can do. You can't look back and, think about, what could have been. The only thing we can do now is head up to Old Dominion knowing that we are good enough to win this conference tournament. And I think everybody has the same mindset right now. Everybody's confident. Pitching has been a lot better the second half of the season. They're doing great. Defense has been really good, and we're going to keep hitting. So I'm excited to see where the chips fall in this conference tournament.
Well, by my count, currently 28 home runs as a Georgia State player, which puts you 10th in school history in baseball's hit out of the ballpark. But let's introduce you and give Panther fans a little bit of background. You're from Marietta, and you came out of Walton High School. You signed at Nebraska. Tell me a little bit about the decision coming out of high school to head out to Nebraska for baseball and where that journey has taken you here to Atlanta to play for Brad Stromdahl.
Yeah, so I grew up a huge Nebraska fan. My dad's from South Dakota, so it's basically the same as Nebraska. Everyone from Nebraska or South Dakota grows up being a Husker fan, and he kind of just gave that to me when I was younger, and so it was kind of a dream come true when I got to play at Nebraska. And I got to play a lot my freshman year, which is fun. I started like the last 10 games for us, and then the second year it just didn't work out as well, and I had to transfer back, and I'm glad Coach Stromdahl gave me the opportunity to come back and play for Georgia State.
Was COVID a part of that? In other words, did that kind of interrupt the process as it did for a lot of players across the country?
Yeah, I'd say COVID definitely had a huge impact in my decision. Everything changed once COVID hit for everyone. And after COVID happened, we came back and the chips were just looking a little bit different for me as far as playing time went with some of the guys they brought in. So I wanted a chance to play again, so I came back to Georgia State.
Well, a great decision it has been. What's it like playing for Brad Stromdahl? Because, he's been here as a assistant coach or an associate head coach under the previous head coach, Greg Frady. Started and built really a fantastic NAIA program at Georgia Gwinnett, and now he's back here kind of doing the same thing at Georgia State. A little bit different situation. May take a little longer, but he's brought in a lot of good players.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job of bringing in fantastic players. The year I came in, me, Max Ryerson came in. Now we have guys like Matt Ruiz, and there's so many more to name that have come in and helped us be good. And I think the best thing about Coach Strom is just the way he's able to let you be yourself. There's no cookie-cutter approach to the way he coaches. He kind of lets you be yourself, and he kind of piggybacks off you and how you want to go about your business. And we have a group of guys from all over the place, like different backgrounds, and he's done a really good job of kind of honing us all in together as one team, even though we're a totally bunch of completely different people.
Was baseball always your sport?
I like to say that I was a great football player. I played tight end my senior year. I played my freshman and sophomore year too, and I loved playing football for Walton. We were pretty good, and then I love playing basketball as well. I played a couple of years of varsity for Walton as well.
But ultimately, baseball rose above and beyond. What was it about baseball that kind of drew you in away from those other two sports?
I'd say baseball. I've always, since I was a little kid, I've always had the ability to hit the ball out of the park. As soon as I got to Walton my freshman year, I got called up to varsity, and I was getting at bats with them, and that's the year we won state at Walton, and I was still up there hitting with the big guys. I've just always been able to hit, I guess.
Were you a travel ball kid growing up?
I was. I played at 643, which is in Marietta, and we would just every summer play up at Lake Point, playing all the perfect game tournaments, and that definitely helped me increase my talent level as well.
All right, so coming out of Walton again, you're at Nebraska, then you're back, and you're down to Florida at Northwest Florida State, and you're down there for a season. How did your game change / improve from high school to Nebraska to JUCO before you head back here to Atlanta?
I think the most important thing that I gained going to junior college was kind of how to learn how to do things myself. There's not very many resources. When you're at junior college, you kind of have to learn how to grind by yourself. And just seeing different coaching styles. I've been to 3 different schools now. I've gotten to be part of 3 great head coaches, and just learning from them, learning the game. I'd say as many teams as you can play on, just learning the game is probably the best thing you can do.
Again, we're talking to Georgia State first baseman Luke Boynton here on the Panther Insider podcast, driven by Ford. Through 53 games at this taping, you've started 45 of 46, hitting .280, 16 home runs, 43 RBIs on 49 hits. Again, you had a 3-run shot over the fence in center on Friday. Ryerson hits a grand slam on Sunday, and, of course, everybody in the dugout knew that was out. Let's be honest. Are you and Max, is there a fun home run challenge going on? Because you guys are just like tearing the cover off the ball at every opportunity. Is there a friendly, battle going on home run wise?
Yeah, absolutely there is. I think every time Max has hit a home run, either that game or maybe the game after I've hit a home run or vice versa. So we've kind of just been having fun with it. I'm looking forward to Thursday because he just hit his 17th. And hopefully that means my 17th will be coming on Thursday, and that's usually just how we've been rolling.
But you don't want to be known necessarily as just a home run hitter. You're able to drive the ball to all parts of the ballpark, which is a big part of being a complete offensive player in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever I try and hit home runs, I usually don't do as well. And my game is just being able to hit the ball all over the field. And when I run into one, I run into one. It's really hard to try and hit a home run, so the best approach is just try and hit it to center field every time.
A lot of good pitchers in the Sun Belt Conference, maybe even more so this year with the teams that you have faced in conference and out of conference. And we were talking to Ryan from a pitcher's standpoint with regards to technology and the whole analytics and being able to really study up on your opponent. What goes into your preparation? And I don't mean just sitting in front of a computer screen, but that is a part of it, and meeting with your hitting coaches. What goes into your preparation as you get ready, for example, going into that Georgia Southern series last weekend?
Yeah, so one of the main things we do, we watch a lot of scouting videos. So Lars, our hitting coach, sets up he has video of every pitcher we could possibly see, his velocities, his all the pitches he throws, where he's usually throwing, and then we'll have like a sheet in our dugout for whatever pitcher comes in, where he throws the ball the most, where you're looking for the ball. And that just kind of helps get an approach, get an idea of what you want to do against each certain pitcher. And you try not to look too much as a hitter into all of the analytics, because you never know with the guy on the mound, he could be doing something completely different that day. I'd say the biggest preparation we get is just watching guys before they come out in the bullpen, watching them warm up on the field. That's the best idea you can get.
You know, I've been wanting to ask this question to either you or Max, and I forget which game it was. It might have even been the game against Wofford. How is the approach different when you're facing, let's say, an over-the-top guy, and then one of those submarine-style pitchers comes in, or those really low sidearm pitchers come in? What's the difference from the hitter's standpoint in order to see where that ball's coming from? Because it's either coming at you more of a downward angle as opposed to coming up from the bottom.
Yeah, me and Max both actually hate facing submarine pitchers. So hopefully nobody on Old Dominion's listening to this and warming up a side armor for us. But yeah, it's different because usually everyone's thrown over the top, and it's easier to find that window of where the ball is coming out. And then when you have the guys that throw submarine, you kind of have to change where you're looking for the ball to come out. And then you have to me and Max usually have to back off the plate a little bit because a lot of their balls are sinking into us. And you just really have to force yourself to drive it to right center. And yeah, they're tough matchups, but we've done a pretty good job of most of the submariners that have came in this year.
Yeah, if they do leave one over the plate, you don't want to leave it over the plate with either of you two holding a bat and home plate. Let me ask you from a defensive standpoint, just in the 2 seasons you've been here, how have you improved from a defensive standpoint? Again, as I mentioned, the Panthers have played 53 games. You have started 45 of those. Of the 46 games you have appeared on, I think 99.9% of those have been at first base.
Yeah, I think just a testament to Lars, and I've worked over the summer on defense a lot, and he's kind of taken control of the infield, and we've gotten better as a whole group. We've made a lot less errors, I think, in the infield this year, and that's just a testament to the practice we've done. I also think for my personal self, just being able to play first base every game, I DH'd a lot last year. So whenever I would get in there, I felt a little bit less comfortable, and now I feel completely comfortable over there just being able to play every day.
I guess from your standpoint, when you look back at the Sun Belt Conference, a year ago, Texas Arlington and Arkansas Little Rock were in the league. They brought in 4 new schools. Southern Miss is almost a perennial top 25. Coastal Carolina is top 10 this year. Just talk a little bit about the Sun Belt, maybe a little bit of the change that we saw from a year ago to this year, but it's a really good league. I think Brad was telling me this past weekend, what is it, ranked 4th or 5th in Division I college baseball? I mean, the Sun Belt is no joke.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of the top 5 leagues. I mean, usually people say Power 5, but I've gotten to play in the Big Ten, and the Sun Belt is better than the Big Ten from what I've experienced, and it's only getting better. A lot of guys are looking to play at teams in the Sun Belt, and it's just a great league. You know, everybody has good players, and it's only getting better. Even from last year, the talent difference from this year and last year is completely different. Everybody's good. Every team's good, and no one's an easy opponent.
Well, let me ask you, as I said to Ryan, you guys, and he doesn't play 56 games. You are going to play close to 56 games. What do you do when you're not talking about baseball, watching baseball, thinking about baseball? What kind of is your take me away from the game?
So Ryan actually is my roommate, and he gets to experience what I like doing away from baseball. And my biggest thing is I love watching like trivia shows. I love watching Jeopardy. I've dragged Waddy out a couple times to go out to whatever restaurant has trivia that night, and we'll go and play for a couple hours and just get our mind completely off of baseball.
What would you say your trivia specialty or focus is?
Ooh, I am very good at mostly all sports trivia, Major League Baseball, of course, but I'm actually very good at geography too, so that's a little bit of a surprise.
All right, well, interesting to know. That's why I enjoy recording these podcasts with our student athletes. You just never know what you're going to learn. Well, appreciate it. Good luck this weekend at Old Dominion, and best of luck, too, as we head, hopefully, to Montgomery in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. And what do they say? Keep swinging for the fences. And it's going to be interesting to watch you and Max in this home run derby down the stretch here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the end of the season. Hopefully we can catch a little spark and go on and win the conference tournament.
All right, that would be awesome. Want to thank Luke Boynton and Ryan Watson. Didn't know they were roommates as student athletes here at Georgia State, but that's good to know as well. But want to thank both Luke and Ryan for joining us on the latest Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Again, baseball closing out the season at Old Dominion, and then it's on to the Sun Belt Conference Tournament in Montgomery, Alabama, at the home of the Montgomery Biscuits. As a reminder to Georgia State fans, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. This is Dave Cohen saying, as always, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you at Panthersville, the GSU Convocation Center, and Center Park Stadium. And as always, go Panthers!